participant.
I was pissed. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, sorry, I was just talking to my guest tonight about the Carroll Smith basketball camps from 1973. So, a long time ago. And Rick reminded me, our guest tonight, Rick Scarbrough, the Republican nominee for state representative in Nashville. And we're going to talk a little bit about the state of the union, the state of the state, the state of the county, the state of everything. Rick's been around a long time. I've known Rick since apparently 50 years now. He was a young man when he came to our basketball camp, so that was a different thing, different time. Jeff Cole remembers some of those things, too. He's a little bit younger, though, I think. All right, a lot younger, really, than me. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here, and we've talked a lot about politics over the last 3 months in different areas, mainly federal politics. We've had Congressman Fleischman on here. We've had others on here. And you ventured into politics. You've been involved for a lot of years.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been on the back scenes. You've built a great career, law enforcement and business and different things. And we're here to find out what your opinion on stuff is and how we can change some things and how we can make some things better, because things aren't that good in the country right now, in my opinion. But that's up to, we'll talk a little bit about that. Tell us about your background. I know about it. You're kind of a legendary guy in Clinton and all of that stuff, but bigger county and everything else. You graduated in Clinton in 80?
83.
83. See, I tried to put some age on it there. But I graduated in 83, and a lot of people graduated between 82 and 84. I mean, just a lot of Clinton people that became very successful. I mean, I look at, you had Lynch got in there, and Long graduated in 7. I mean, Long obviously is a lot younger, but there's a lot of people that were successful in that early 80s crowd. It must have been a very, I don't know why, but it might have been Reagan.
I think people, we're a small community. Anderson County is a small community. Obviously, when you break it down into Clinton and Claxton and the smaller communities, it seems even smaller. But I tell people every day, Anderson County, we're still a pretty small community.
Yeah. And, people, it's funny, when you're from the county or Clinton, you call Anderson County Clinton and Anderson County. You don't include Oak Ridge in what you're trying to describe, because it's kind of a separate entity, even though we're all Anderson County. That's true. And I bet you if I walk down Outer Drive or Michigan Avenue, half the people wouldn't know what county they live in. They know they live in Oak Ridge. It's kind of interesting,
True.
I think. And that's it. Maybe because of registration and tags, that might be a higher percentage, but that's it. So tell us about growing up. Tell us about what.
Hey, I'm a Claxton kid.
Yeah.
I'm a Claxton kid, and for those of us who are from Claxton, we remind each other that pretty
Tracy
often.
Wandale, big Claxton guy.
Yeah.
Big guy, good guy. I like Tracy a lot.
Played a lot of basketball with Tracy growing up.
Did you?
We sure did. In younger years, and then we had a group of Claxton guys, a little men's league basketball. And so I've known Tracy again since our teenage years.
Yeah, and Tracy's a year younger than you, I believe. If he's in '84. I think that there was a lot of rivalries between Claxton and Clinton in those days. I mean, you guys South Clinton was kind of in between, right? I mean, it's kind of in between. But I mean, I was 10 years ahead. I was in the Jimmy Hodge, Tyrone Fritz, Russell Fritz, Jerry Riggs, Kimmy Weaver era. I wasn't in the early 80s there. You were in the Jermaine Shepard. Was he young? He's a little bit younger.
Younger. Yeah. Tell you, Alan, Molly and I talk about this a lot. We'll have having conversations. She'll say, "Well, you remember such and such's brother, don't you?" And I'm like, "Gosh, I didn't know they had a brother." Because when you live in Claxton, you go to Claxton Elementary School, for example. I didn't meet Clinton people obviously until I went to junior high, right?
Sure.
And so there's a decade plus there that you miss out on some of the stuff that goes on in Clinton, and knowing Clinton generational type things. And so it's happened to this day. She said, "We remember this." No, I don't remember their brother. I never met them.
And Molly was a Clinton girl.
Oh yeah, Molly's always been a Clinton girl. And back then it was long distance to call from Claxton to Clinton. Yeah,
that's old, folks. That's old.
Yeah, so even when you went to Clinton junior high or whatever, and you met a girl you want to talk to, hey, you're not going.
You're limited.
No, not going to be long distance.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So Oak Ridge was long distance.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Claxton was part of the PAL telephone system. Or something.
In those days, all the money went to long distance. You had to pay more. And your local, they protected the local fees, and they switched it around when we got older.
This is how it worked, Alan. You get went to Clinton Junior High, played sports there. Away football game, for example. We're going to get back pretty late, right? kids always walk down to borrow the police department's phones or the fire department's phones, the fireman militia's phone. What I would call Claxton, collect. And my mother would deny the charges, knowing it's time to go pick me up, right?
Oh, that's smart. So you wouldn't get the charge.
Yeah. Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Because you person-to-person collect, if I remember correctly, you could say, collect call from Rick Scarbrough.
Okay.
And they would know who you are, right?
Right.
And that's how that works.
Yeah.
So you went to Clinton Junior High, went to Clinton High School. When was your first exposure to law enforcement? Was it after?
It just came. I went to work part-time as a jailer for 3 nights a week.
People did.
Yeah. I was going to school at Rome State.
Right.
And I went to work for Sheriff Van Riper.
I remember that time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it was a different time. Different time. I've been doing, play a lot of sports still throughout, and was in great shape. I was doing some work for a brick mason. And I got in a construction company here in Oak Ridge. And I got a call that they're looking for a jailer. So I go for my interview, and again, I was pretty good shape. The chief deputy walks up to me, and he says, "I reckon you'll do."
Yeah.
And that's how I became. So that was 1985.
That's when we were on the third floor of the courthouse, right?
Yep, summer of '85. The jail was on the third floor of the courthouse.
Wow.
And then I went to full-time in December of '85.
So you're 20 years old at that.
Yeah, I just started dating Molly, and the next day, I became a full-time law enforcement guy.
And you were in Clinton law enforcement roughly from '85 all the way up to.
Yeah, I was sheriff's department from '85 to '90.
Right. Oh, that's right. That would be sheriff's.
And then when we got engaged, I was broke, so I had to make some. So I went to work at Y12 in security.
Good.
And that
became the go-to place eventually.
It was booming. It was booming there at the time, and then we had the Cold War had come to an end, though.
Was it a contractor relationship then, or were you actually an employee of Y12?
I was employed.
Yeah, I thought they did that.
I was employed of Lockheed Martin, and in '90, and then we got laid off from that security job and went back to law enforcement.
Okay.
And again, so 29 years total in law enforcement.
Wow.
And then 3 years in security at Y12. So, and then now 6 years at the University of Tennessee. So.
2 great daughters.
Oh, got great daughters. Natalie and Rachel gave us some grandsons last year.
Yeah.
And I got another one coming too. So we have 3 grandsons and got one coming up in December.
I can remember when they were so little. They used to come into Hoskins. I'd go into Hoskins to eat, and they'd be there, and I'd sit down and do their math with them. And do they were great kids.
They remembered those math games.
Yeah, we did anything I could do, to help them a little bit. Yeah. And they used to laugh at me. Always laugh, and they'd laugh at me. But they were great kids, great family. So you spent all that time. You went to UT. When did you go to UT?
Went to work for UT 2018.
I got it.
Yeah, the last 16 years I was at Clinton. I was a police chief.
Right.
I wasn't through being the chief. I really enjoyed my job. Missed it every single day. Molly will tell you that. At first, she thought it when people would ask me about it, I was just being nice. But
what year did you leave?
I left in 2018.
Okay. I didn't realize you were there that long.
Yeah. But no, I miss being a police chief. I like taking care of the public and solving problems at the grassroots level. But this is a great opportunity at the Law Enforcement Innovation Center here in Oak Ridge, and I want to make an impact in my profession. And now we travel. In the last couple of years, traveled 37 states.
Wow.
And then, but our primary mission is working with law enforcement across the state of Tennessee, police chiefs and sheriffs, solving their problems when it comes to training. And we're a one-stop shop training organization. So if you don't know where we are located, we're the concrete stucco building beside Applebee's.
Yeah, you're where we have the E-Tech.
The E-Tech's in the back, and then we have the Law Enforcement Innovation Center on the west side as well, and the remainder of the building is the rest of our training. We have classroom space in there and so forth. Let
me jump back to the kids just for a second on the family stuff. One of your daughters, I guess the younger one, is married to the Austin Peay football coach?
No, that'd be the old one.
The old one, okay.
Natalie's married. Yeah, Natalie's married to my son-in-law named Jeff Ferris, and Jeff's the head coach, head football coach at Austin Peay.
Family, yeah.
And then Rachel is here in Knoxville and married to Burton, and we have a grandson with them. And so.
Did you go to Austin Peay games? Have you been to one yet?
Went to one last week. I'll be going to one 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Got a home game coming up this weekend, so we'll probably check that out.
My
too.
sister travels with him, goes everywhere, playoffs. She's been in Clarksville for 25, 30 years. She's a dentist there, a pediatric dentist, and she's active on the board and does different things there. So she's, I've kind of, even though I was a Middle Tennessee guy, an athlete in Middle Tennessee, Austin Peay's not really our favorite place. It's more like a rivalry in the OVC in those days. But all that said, my sister loves Austin Peay, and I think my son went to UT, but he probably would have gone to Austin Peay if he hadn't gone to.
Hey, Jeff, Austin Peay is, Clarksville, Oak Ridge reminds me a lot of Clarksville, honestly. I mean, it's the same size city, seems like, and get the same feel. And so if Oak Ridge had a 4-year school here, it's probably what it'd feel like. But they lost a starting quarterback the opening week. It's tough for a new coach, but anyway.
Well, let me tell you about. Actually, if you go into the city limits, not the overall. Oak Ridge is not as big as it seems sometimes. But when I was in school, Cookeville had about 20,000 people. Jackson had about 30. Oak Ridge had about 30. Just going down the line. Every Cleveland, all these communities. Murfreesboro had 36. Now they got 180 and 200 in these flat communities and everywhere. Oak Ridge has never grown, but because we're a little more land-bound in a lot of ways. I mean, Murfreesboro, I can remember when I was doing government work, and I went down there, and the mayor said, I put every tax on them I can think of. Wheel taxes, property taxes. Right. I can't slow it down. It just keeps getting bigger because there's so much land and the growth in Middle Tennessee, so it's different.
Population-wise, though, you're right, Clarksville's much bigger. But when you get downtown town feel, it's very similar.
And let me tell you something. They attract tornadoes.
Oh gosh!
My sister, every 2 or 3 years, wham! It comes running through the town. It's just unbelievable. I mean, it's just like the most unluckiest place in that sense.
We've already had our tornado drills in Clarksville.
I bet you have. Yeah, I bet you have.
We're prepared for that.
You're going to get it done. That's great. Okay, so here we are. You're in law enforcement. You've done your stuff. You're getting it all done. I'm trying to look back, and you come in, and you've always been interested in political stuff. You always had an interest in that, and you have that demeanor that I think is good in politics, and in leadership and in different things. So, but now we're 30 years later. Why get into it now?
Well, just like when I left the job as a police chief, I wasn't through being a police chief. Trust me, I really did love that job. But you're looking at making an impact on your community and what you could do. In that case, is for my profession, what could I do in law enforcement there? So I chose to take this position, try to make an impact on my profession across the state.
Yeah, it's a big job.
And even in the country, too. So our main things we work on there, curriculum-wise, is forensics is big for us. Leadership is big for us. You heard on the news de-escalations.
Sure.
So we de-escalation classes. But if we can get the leadership portion of law enforcement right, that takes care of a world of problems.
In most businesses.
Oh, yeah. And so we begin at the first level, but mid-level command and executive training is where we want to be.
So, but why go to the legislature? Is it integrated?
Again, I've been in public service 35 years
That's
now.
a good point. And
I just want to continue to make an impact on my community. This is home. This is home for us in Anderson County, and I want to make an impact there. And as a public servant, again, when I've been as long as what can I do? What else can I do to help our community? Mm-hmm. And it's almost like a calling, if you will, if I'm okay saying that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, say anything on my show.
Yeah, I feel like I've been called to do that, and I thought there was an opportunity to do this. Again, we're not getting younger, right?
That's the truth.
So,
that's the truth.
Make an impact while I can, and I do. My current position, I'm exposed to the legislature. I go down and call on Mr. Reagan several times, and Senator McNally and their colleagues quite often. I mean, that's where our funding comes from at the University of Tennessee.
Sure.
But as a land-grant institution at the university, research obviously is huge there, but public outreach is one of our missions, and that's where I come in currently right now. My current profession is executive director for Law Enforcement Innovation Center. Is public outreach, and calling on those legislators down there and being there on Capitol Hill on a regular basis got me thinking about it. Really did.
That's a good point. You were exposed to it on a regular basis.
And back in March, I called. I was coming out of Memphis, and I called Molly. I said, "I'm ready to run." And she was on board from the start.
Yeah. she would be a good teammate.
She should have ran. She'd have been. She won, but she'd have.
She probably 2-1, right? Oh, yeah, she's that guy. We'll be right back. We'll take our first break. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about this UT police job and how it impacts law enforcement all across the state.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Looking for a college with online programs that work for you? Roane State offers flexible courses so you can go to class when it's convenient. Roane State will be there every step of the way to ensure you succeed with resources like tutoring, advising, and counseling. Find out if you can complete your degree 100% online and on your time. Get started today. Visit roanstate.edu/online to explore your options.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference, so we can all continue to move forward together.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We're talking with Rick Scarbrough, who's been in community service, from police efforts to training efforts and everything in our state. Pretty much of an expert in that area, and we're talking about different things that the legislature does, his organization does. So the name of the company you work for is the University of Tennessee, not company, but the department you work for is the University of Tennessee.
Yes, University of Tennessee Law Enforcement Innovation Center, which we are part of the Institute for Public Service.
Right.
The way to look at the Institute for Public Service is like a campus, if you will.
Okay.
We're part of the system. I'm not part of the Knoxville campus, Chattanooga campus, but we are the Institute of Public Service is its own entity within the system.
So understanding UT like I do, it was created to kind of provide further higher end training and education and technical forensics and everything that most people couldn't do on an individual basis.
Correct.
You have the ability. You said you had 12 full-time and 75 part-time contract type people. So,
we do.
So that's quite an organization.
The business model is it's really brilliant. We hold costs down by having 12 full-time people. Some are in the administrative area. We have instructors there with us. But the 75 subject matter experts they're all over the country, literally. So we bring when we have a forensics, our National Forensic Academies here. It's a 10-week program. We do 3 of those a year. and then we have a class for college.
And that's to help police understand how to treat evidence. Would you say?
Oh yeah, everybody likes to watch television and watch CSI, right?
Yeah.
So this is, if you send us a good solid investigator, we'll create a CSI person for them, and they'll come in and they'll learn how to work a crime scene from beginning to the end, from collection of evidence, preservation of evidence, to courtroom testimony through prosecution. We got success stories all over the country. Our main customers are the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the Texas Rangers, the United States Army, the United States Air Force. But we'll have 33 weeks of forensics training go on in that building each and every year.
We've both been, obviously not as much as you, but I've been in courtroom part of my career. That chain of custody can be very important. That's what a good lawyer goes after every time.
The Institute for Public Service is made up, we got several organizations there that have county consultants, municipal consultants, if you will, business consultants, and then from our perspective, we'll do law enforcement training. So we're there for the public. I mean, it's public outreach. It's a great opportunity for them. Didn't really know a lot about them until I became a police chief, and we started sending our own investigators to this type of training here. All of our investigators, when I was a police chief in Clinton, had been through the National Forensic Academy.
Okay. That's great. That's great. You got to have that stuff. I really didn't even know it existed. I knew it existed somewhere. You had to get training, but I didn't realize you were able to provide that at Oak Ridge through the University of Tennessee. So you go to Nashville, you're looking for money, you're looking for programs, you're selling what you're doing. Not real hard when you're at the University of Tennessee, I guess, but you're up there talking about different things. But they're a little tight with money.
Oh,
that group in Tennessee.
Everybody wants money. I mean, everybody needs funding, and every project's worthwhile, you know.
Yeah.
And so, when I call on, I mean, it's in the last several years, Lieutenant Governor McNally and Representative Reagan, they all did what they could, but they can't provide funding every year. I mean, it's just sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
You get elected state representative in November. You have a general election to go, and you get up there. What do you feel your best roles or abilities or committees or however you want to define it, where do you see yourself making a difference?
Well, I think a good fit would be on one of the justice committees, obviously, and I think criminal justice committee would be a great fit for me.
They'll give you more and more.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They'll work you. They're
going to work us down there. However, I think that would be a good fit. And we'll just have to see where I get assigned, obviously.
Sure.
But
what do you feel? I mean, I understand all the technicalities of that. I'm in that business. But when you go down there, we talked about how well Oak Ridge and Anderson County are doing right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't put an Arano deal or a training center deal, which I'm in that a little bit. They've got to have state funding to match federal funding, et cetera. I don't want to get into all the details, but the bottom line is that's where you have to take a leadership role.
100%. I think we've got to be very intentional in what we do when we go down to Nashville when it comes to supporting Oak Ridge and Anderson County.
Yes.
We talk, and again, border security, I know we're in Tennessee.
Every state's a border state.
We're in Tennessee, but how can we help local law enforcement provide the tools and the training and whatever the resources they need to help us in Tennessee when it comes to, and then also holding our federal partners' feet to the fire when it comes to to our border security. Because again, like you say, every state's a border state. When it comes to human trafficking, drugs, violent crime, there's things to be considered that we need to make sure that we're very intentional in what we do down there. So let's make sure we give our local law enforcement the tools they need.
Well, that's right. And you're a Republican nominee, so I can talk a little bit and not put you on the spot here. But I mean, I can imagine what the United States would look like if we didn't control one chamber of condors. If we couldn't block certain things in Washington, which we have the House of Representatives, and I think probably the Senate will go Republican because I think the Senate will go Republican because it's that turn. Every 2 years it's different. So if the Republicans come out 1 or 2 ahead, they did a mediocre job. They should get more than that, but they'll get 1 or 2 because West Virginia flips automatically. In the House, it'll be close. We'll see what happens. It's more of a populist kind of where population matters. 2 in New York and 2 in Montana are the same in the Senate, but in that kind of thing. And of course, the presidency is very important, and we'll see where that goes and direction. But if we do get some changes in those areas, border security will increase. We'll see more police action to prevent illegal. We're all for illegal immigration. We need it. But to get illegal, we're getting more. So it comes down to people like you in the states. And what do we do to define the problem as it exists a little bit? Because you're pretty. We've talked about it. You're very knowledgeable. That we have illegal immigration impacting our state as well as border states. And if we have a chance to tactically challenge that, what can we do? Where do we go? How can you? If they decide they're going to start attacking it and they're going to give you the power. Tell us about ICE. Nobody really knows about these issues.
Let's think about right now. Okay. The current administration in D.C. didn't care about the immigration issue until, what, 6 weeks ago when Kamala became.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
She became the candidate, then it became a big issue again, right?
She was in charge of that.
But in the meantime, it wasn't an issue for them.
No.
And so very lax in what was going on there. It's strictly a numbers game.
Right. For them, it is.
You know, when it comes to the threats to our national security, when it comes from the border security, the policies, if they'll just enforce the policies that were in place, that would have been great. But right now, again, you've got criminals coming across the border. We're worried about, we're worried about our Middle Eastern threats coming over here from South America, coming up through South America, because that's where the doors open, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's where the doors open. So they're coming there, and it's a numbers game. Are we going to be able to capture some of those people coming across? Well, sure, we'll capture some, but it's a numbers game. Thousands and thousands are coming across. But now, from a Tennessee perspective, what do? It's important for us to make sure that the funding's in place for our local law enforcement, to make sure they have the tools in place to do what we can in local communities, because right now they're amongst us, if you will.
Sure they are.
There's threats amongst us that they're living here in Oak Ridge, they're living in Clinton, they're living in Oliver Springs, living up in Rocky Top, if you will. They're here. They're living amongst us. There's a lot of, at the same time, let me back up a bit.
Sure.
There's a lot of great families that are living here that came here legally.
Sure.
They're working hard to provide.
That's right.
They're working hard to provide services for us. I don't want to, make sure I don't want to slight those individuals. They're trying to have, honestly, experience the American dream, right?
Sure.
They came legally. And I talk to business people who want them. If they'll come legally,
absolutely.
They want them to be here because we need the labor. We need the help.
We have no labor.
But there's a lot of illegals that live amongst us, right? And so what can we do to help local law enforcement identify those individuals and make sure we get them back out of the country?
I think that's I really don't have a problem with the. Let me rephrase that. I don't think that the illegal immigrant who's cooking at the Mexican restaurant in Tennessee is a threat. They need to go if they're illegal. I got it. Some of that's almost too expensive to do, or find a way to legalize, especially children. Mm-hmm. But we come back to the flip side of it is, but there are sleeper people here. There are people that are here with Chinese direction, with Iranian direction, other direction, and they're coming over the border, and they're you talk about, I've been to briefings, you talk about the blue lights on the farms.
Right.
They're going from light to light to light to get to the train, to get to the cities, and they're told what cities to go to. Sure. I mean, that's a little scary.
Yeah, it's a coordinated effort.
No question. Somebody's in charge.
It's coordinated. Right. It's not loosely organized. It's very organized.
That's right.
And again, it's strictly a numbers game. If they get caught, I'm sure they have a way to deal with that too, as far as trying to make sure that they don't get accused of anything. But that being said, it's a real situation we've got to be concerned about.
I think we do, and I think on the state level, I have some friends who I actually did some work with who are now elected district attorneys and other things. They're looking at trying to enhance laws at the state level for trafficking, for any involvement, and different things. And I think we need to do things that discourage them. One of, I won't mention the name, but one of my good friends has a multi-county area in his jurisdiction. Right, he wants somebody that brings an illegal alien from one county, trafficking mainly, one county to the other, arrested for increasing the charges in the state of Tennessee. So stuff like that, I think, might be helpful.
Well, I think those that provide those services, whether it be district attorneys, sheriffs, police chiefs, if you will, Let's work with them. What do they need from a law perspective to give them the tools they need to be able to do the job and take care of our, because it becomes strictly go back to the math game again. You see, you play with my kids. It's a math game. Right. What can we do to give them? It's what kind of a algebraic equation, if you will, can we come up with, algorithm to come up with to help them solve their problem? What do you need? Instead of us sitting back and acting like we know what we're talking about, what do you need? And ask those providing the service.
Yeah, and I think we have to have an attitude that we're going to do what it takes. And I think that's where your value comes in Nashville, is that you can sit and say, with your experience, you know what the numbers are, and you can say, look, we've got to do this and this and this. Well, we don't have it in the budget this year is not an acceptable answer to me. You've got to find it, and we've got to protect. See, in the end, this is about protecting people, in my opinion. To serve and to protect, right? So it's about not turning our heads and saying, well, most people won't be affected, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that Memphis and Nashville are other worlds, but I lived in Nashville for a long time, born in Memphis. But, I mean, it's just a different state. I don't know. I just think if you get down there, you need to address
and there's a lot of things,
best you can.
There's a lot of things that you would like to do, and there's a lot of things that people down there in Nashville probably would like for us to do to, when it comes to pet projects or programs. What are your non-negotiables? What are non-negotiables? Okay,
right.
What are non-negotiables?
Right.
Health and safety of your community is number one. Great schools is number two, and let's make sure we have someplace for them to go to work.
That's right. That's right.
And when I travel the state, I'll be leaving. I travel quite often, honestly, for my job, one end to the other, and I-40 is constantly backed up, so I have to get off GPS.
Oh, it's horrible this week.
I'm driving through communities wondering, where do these people work? How do they make a living?
Yeah.
We still have a lot of rural communities in Tennessee that don't even have access to high-speed internet.
Yeah. We're getting there.
And that's a reality. I mean, back up a little bit to COVID. Coming out of COVID, this is the University of Tennessee information here. Every campus was able to retain their freshmen that they lost. Even had some enrollment growth coming out of COVID.
Okay.
Northwest Tennessee, if you will, very agricultural, rural area, lacked high-speed internet access up there in a lot of those areas. They actually had a loss when it come to enrollment of freshmen, retaining those freshmen to come back because they couldn't do online classes like other places could. So there's different things.
My son is a freshman at the University of Tennessee, and he's in the Haslam School of Business, and he enrolled. He could have taken every single class he wanted digitally if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. He didn't. He only took one. He wanted to get in the classroom in UT. And I think COVID changed the world in a lot of ways. We've never had our staff. Before COVID, our staff at my firm, which is an engineering firm, was probably 90% in the building, and you work from home maybe every once in a while. Now it's probably 2/3 at home, and I think we learned how to do it. And, and we and it became a way to keep employees happy. I mean, they were able, if you could work from home, it's just,
we learned how to do it differently. I was able to reduce my travel by 25%.
That's good.
Easily. I mean, because we know how to do it. When you actually, I'm a people person, so I want to go I want to go see people. I want to see my customers I call on.
Me too.
And when I say customer, I'm talking about police chiefs and sheriffs.
Sure.
I'm going to go see them and try to make that connection when it comes, because at the end of the day, we need them to use us for law enforcement training to keep our doors open. We're not trying to make a profit. If you will. We charge fees for some of our training. We have grant funding for some of our training. But we need them to use us to keep our doors open.
If you're not in front of them, they're not going to think about you.
And so, I have to go out and make those trips from time to time. And but my busiest years, I spent 85 nights in a hotel somewhere, a motel.
I lived that life in the 90s, I know.
Yeah, and but post-COVID, it's probably 25% decrease because, again, we have Zoom and Teams meetings, and we do a lot of stuff online.
But you can get some of the best business decisions I've ever seen, which involve tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, were made on a napkin over lunch and a coffee. I mean, sometimes you got to get in front of the guy. I mean, it's like when I'm trying to change and do business. Now I'm old, but when I try to change and do business, I just want to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I've got to chat with somebody or I've got to do this. I just
once you establish relationships and everything, I don't care what it is. It's about relationships. Once the relationship's been established, then you can go to different ways to communicate with people. But initially, you got to shake hands and be the face to face.
I think so. That's right. If you know the person, it's a lot easier. But I'll be talking to my son at UT, and we'll text, and I'll call him. He won't answer. He'll just text me back and say, "What do you need?" or whatever. I mean, he will if I tell him to. But that's not the norm. I mean, they can go days on just internet and phones and not do anything. I mean, it's unbelievable. This whole generation, it's unbelievable. So, let's take another break. I want to talk about schools. Everybody wants to talk about schools, and we'll talk about PACs too. Okay.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference. So we can all continue to move forward together.
Looking for a college with online programs that work for you? Roan State offers flexible courses so you can go to class when it's convenient. Roan State will be there every step of the way to ensure you succeed with resources like tutoring, advising, and counseling. Find out if you can complete your degree 100% online and on your time. Get started today. Visit roanstate.edu/online to explore your options.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
1 in 7 people will need a blood transfusion during their life. That's 1 person every 2 seconds receiving a life-saving product. At Medic Regional Blood Center, we are the primary blood provider for 25 hospitals in 23 East Tennessee and southeastern Kentucky counties. Started in 1958, Medic has been serving Knoxville and the surrounding areas for 66 years. For 1 hour of your time, you can save a life. Visit medicblood.org for more information on blood donation.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We'd like to thank our sponsors, especially Sharon Gleason, who's running for Oak Ridge School Board. Incredible career, CEO, up to 500 employees at one time, built a company, working with the Oak Ridge Foundation. She's one of those generational people. You don't get very many people like that in her 40s who just basically can bring so much capacity to a job and to people. She'll do a great job. We've talked about everything. Now we're going to get into schools. And there it is. We went through a campaign. I was helping John. You were running against John. We saw PAC money fly from both sides. It was unbelievable. I mean, from PACs that supported your perception, PACs that supported John. it was like 2 or 3 times what we spent.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know how we're going to. I think it needs to be. I don't know if you all have the capacity, but at some point it needs to be capped or something. And my point to you, and I understand freedom and all that, but my point to you is, and I bring that up on PACs because with the school voucher thing has been taken over by PACs and school funding, et cetera, et cetera. You have been very clear, although open-minded about everything, you've been very clear that you don't think vouchers are good for, at least Anderson County, is not good for us.
Well, I mean, we're fortunate to have great schools in Anderson County.
That's right.
And is there a need for it in other locations? Possibly. I mean, I don't live there, right?
Well, we got 3 that are using it now, right?
But I go with what I know, and I know Anderson County's got great schools, and we got great school boards at the 3 districts, and people in Anderson County. I'm sure there's some folks out there that like vouchers or like the voucher idea. But
well, I polled it. It's about 70% against in Anderson County.
You might have heard me say at one of the forums, I think it's a pig in a poke. You don't know what you're going to get, right?
That's exactly right.
And but this is the thing. This is when it comes to educational policy, kids come first. Okay,
right.
Kids come first. We've had school choice in Anderson County forever. Kids go from Clinton to Oak Ridge to
They've certainly gone from Anderson County to Clinton a lot, haven't they?
Yeah, and they go back and forth. Yeah. They just travel throughout the county. I mean, the kids go from to different middle schools. School choice is in Anderson County today. It's happening right now. And it seems like nobody says anything unless it affects football team, right?
Yeah.
then you might hear a little bit. So I mean, I'm open-minded to school choice, especially again it's been going on here, and we got to make sure we have accountability, and we're not going to lower our standards. People think you got to get high standards, you got to go to private schools. Now we've got great accountability and standards here in our public schools, and then I just can't. Honestly, I can't be for anything that'll have negative impact to our public schools.
How does it impact? I mean, John and I discussed this on the air. I mean, how does it impact? I mean, the idea is, okay, I'm Marjorie Johnson, and I am a single mother, and I have 3 kids, and I just can't afford to send my kid to Webb or St. Mary's or anywhere like that, all excellent schools. So I have to decide what I'm going to do. Now, there's where our voucher argument comes in and says, maybe rich kids have school choice, and maybe upper middle class kids have school choice. I'm not sure poor kids have school choice because they're limited in being able to provide. Not only school choice within the public schools, I get that, but on private schools. What if we gave them, they're paying property taxes, what if we gave them a voucher for $7,000, $6,500? This is the Lee perspective. That Governor Lee, we give them that, and now they can at least choose the best for their child. Now, all that said makes sense. The problem is, how does that impact our public schools? We're taking $6,500. Is that $6,500 come off of the financial allocation for the public schools in Oak Ridge or Clinton? That's where it gets damaging.
Sure it does. I mean, let's go. It's all okay. It's about perspective. Let's go back to the perspective of what'd you get? What'd you name your figurative person? I can't remember their name. Marjorie something.
Yeah, Marjorie. I think
whatever name.
Let's go back to Marjorie. I couldn't think something easier. Sorry.
Well, the likelihood of her, first of all, I think the stipend's looking at about $7,000 is what they would get. The same person has a problem. She's not going to be able to afford to put her kids in public or private schools because the tuition will be more than that, most likely. And then you got transportation issues and so forth. I think it becomes a stipend, or if you will, a credit to people that are already sending their kids to private schools.
I thought about that. I don't know.
And I think that's the case. I mean, you might be able to have a school. You might have a school pop up that charges less tuition, but
the problem is, do we get these fundamentalist type programs? And I'm not talking about just Christian. I'm talking about anything, Muslim, anything. All these little programs that big. I was asked why this is such a big PAC. Why is this issue so big for private schools and for the PAC and the vouchers? And one of my friends sat down and did the math with me and said, there's hundreds of millions of dollars in private education. These guys are coming after the money. And then I became more negative on it, I think.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not opposed to school choice. Again, we've got that happening in Anderson County today. Right. We really do. And again, there was, And I already said, if I had been sitting in Mr. Reagan's seat, I would have voted no if it came to a vote on the Governor Lee's plan. The House plan had some incentives in there, but some of the incentives were lowering some standards. I'm not for lowering standards. We've got to maintain our accountability and standards.
And that lowering those standards, and I don't know what they were, but I've heard about it, of course, in my business. And lowering those standards in that PAC brought him some attention from PACs and other people because they were upset about that. But not just him, but anybody who voted for that bill.
Right. Well, there's one group, Team Kid PAC supported my campaign.
Yeah, they sure did.
And there was a couple of PACs that supported Mr. Reagan's campaign.
Yeah, Prosperity and some of those guys.
And again, from the Team Kid PAC perspective, it was about lowering those standards.
I think so.
Again, they're not.
What standards were lowered? Do you know any of the specifics on that?
I don't know which one. I don't know exactly which one we're talking about.
They did, though. I know when they made a deal on the voucher stuff and they were compromising. I know it had to do with retention rates, or I don't remember.
It was 11th hour kind of thing, trying to hurry and try to get something passed. And anyway, that's what brought it in from the folks that were helping me on my side, because from the very beginning, I told them I'm not a voucher person. And it was, yes, I am about standards.
And let me make this clear. Yeah. Rick Scarbrough has no connection to Team Kid PACs. They have to operate separate from his campaign, just like John operated separate from Prosperity.
Correct.
I can remember knocking on the doors in one campaign in another area where the PAC was on the other side of the street. I mean, you didn't even know they were coming. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I got a phone call upset with me over a mailer. I said, look, I don't control that mailer.
That's right.
I don't have any communication with those people.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the thing there. But when it comes to the perspective of the schools, understand this. It goes back to the numbers again. If you had take $7,000 per student, and if you had 30 kids leave, that's $210,000 in revenue that leaves the school system.
Right.
And the way they finance, the way public education is financed, they don't really finance it per the child. It's almost like a gross, proposition, if you will.
Well, they do ADA measurements.
You got to be able to measure you got to be able to know what your budget's going to look like. You got to be able to know what teachers you need to have.
Yeah.
The money gets if the child leaves the school system and goes to another school, that money would have followed the child. Let's say they had a terrible first several months of school, and over the Christmas break,
they decided to come back.
They want to come back. This private school's not working out for me. I'm going to come back. The money doesn't come back with them. The money's gone. But public education has to take that child.
Is it an annual thing?
The money just gets burst early in the school year.
So you could do it after a year, but you can't do it in the middle of the year. That makes sense.
And so when the kid comes, and the public education has to take them.
Yeah.
All right. Private schools don't have to take anybody.
Well, that's always been the argument that private schools, and in my familiar areas with Catholic schools, which are self-funded in their own right, but I think that the problem becomes you don't have the capacity in a lot of private schools of special ed facilities.
Right, 100%.
It's a much bigger challenge.
There's no transportation.
Education.
There's no transportation for students. That becomes an issue where public education.
They use public education. I mean, I rode the public school bus the same area.
Right. Well, my mother drove a school bus for 20 years.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. If they want to spend money like that in inner city schools, some failing schools that are easily identifiable, that's a different idea. The funding for a statewide program for school vouchers could be $500 million a year, something of that nature. It would be very, very expensive. I don't know where the money would come from, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, in Anderson County, we have great schools here in Anderson County.
Absolutely.
Led by some excellent school boards, and we have some great teachers here in the county. And at the end of the day, the communities support the schools. I think that's where I am on that. I'll stay open-minded because things change, and if some of these issues we talked about, I've got some.
Well, they might design a bill that opts in only for certain counties with certain parameters or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, from our perspective in Anderson County, as long as it doesn't negatively financially impact our school systems, then I'm happy to talk about it.
You know, my wife is an outspoken commissioner against it, and her bottom line is, you know, my tax dollars don't need to support Jane Doe or Marjorie from going to school. I don't want it involved. I want public schools, public dollars, and
Right.
But I think that's right. I mean, you could argue the $7,000 is that they pay it in, they pay it out. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure the revenue's equal.
Yeah, we can get in the weeds a little bit on some of this stuff, because the numbers we really don't know until you don't really know until you know.
Yeah, people don't know unless they know a lot of history. Public education wasn't always available. Private education in the 1800s was all that really there was. There was no booming public schools. They developed, but the Harvards and other Penn and other institutions, those were all private schools, et cetera, et cetera. And even in here, I mean, in the South, developed later, and I think there was more of a push for public schools. But, the private schools were always set aside for the leadership, the people, et cetera, and we had to build our public schools to try to create a level of education. And I think that was a social project for our country and our community that doesn't need to be threatened. Does that make sense?
One thing I tell you about schools, where you have failing schools is where you have socioeconomic issues.
That's correct.
You have communities that are not safe.
Mm-hmm.
You have no jobs.
That's right.
Where we have safe communities and high-paying jobs, you're going to have some successful schools. That's why in Oak Ridge and Anderson County, we've had great schools.
And the truth is, the private schools thrive in those environments too. They don't need public funding. I mean, it's that people make their own decisions and do what they need to do. And I think a lot of the development of private schools over the past decade or two has been based on social issues more than education issues. I mean, that's where I'm at. I think the whole idea is I don't want them teaching me this or that, or then I opt to go somewhere else. But I'm not sure that's something I should fund.
Across the state, I think it's an algebraic equation, X times Y equals Z.
Sure.
Again, as long as you have safe communities, great schools, you'll have high-paying jobs.
Sure.
All those three. If you take away one of those,
yep.
If you take away the jobs or the safety of the community, you're not going to have great schools. It's just not going to happen.
One more break, Chandler, and then we'll finish up.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Looking for a college with online programs that work for you? Roan State offers flexible courses so you can go to class when it's convenient. Roan State will be there every step of the way to ensure you succeed with resources like tutoring, advising, and counseling. Find out if you can complete your degree 100% online and on your time. Get started today. Visit roanstate.edu/online to explore your options.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference, so we can all continue to move forward together.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
All right, crew, let's get started. All right.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes left. We're having a great time. We're talking to Rick Scarbrough. We're learning a lot about what's going on and his tremendous career history in law enforcement, which is very important right now because we've got issues on the border and we've got issues there well. So Rick seems very prepared to get down there and help us. The economy in Oak Ridge is very good. We have the biggest investment in history. The state participated in that. I'd like to see you maybe get a little bit involved in the committees that have some things to do with that.
Sure.
That would be good because you've been in the business side of things a long time, not just the criminal justice. You know how it works. And business owner and other things. We got to get the state to keep buying in. The new nuclear board. I don't know a lot about it except that I think there's a dozen or 17 people on there, and it's a statewide board that Billy set up to help fund nuclear projects, 50 or 60 million. I remember we're talking about getting the federal government involved when I'm talking to Chuck. So I don't know, but it seems like they've done great things. And with Arano coming here, man, we've got it really working.
Yeah, I mentioned that when I was campaigning door to door. People were asking me, what do you think about the community? What can we do to help people? And I think again, being more intentional about what we're going to do here in our community. Right. We have great history here, obviously, in Anderson County and Oak Ridge when it comes to nuclear. Yes. And what terrific news that was last week. Oh. I mean, that's going to set us up for generational wealth here for a lot of people. That's right. Those are decades of jobs coming up that people need to understand what's happening.
And we need to get them in the 33rd district. We need to get them across the border, and everybody doesn't need to live in Roane and Knox. We need some homes here. Build some homes, and if you've been to the preserve, I mean, it's Roane County, but it's amazing out there. Everything.
Well, I mean, you're talking that's $5 million with a B.
Yeah, it's not an M. That's right.
$5 million with a B. So $5 million with a B. So that's a great investment.
It really is, and I think in the state, you'll be able to keep an eye on what's going on and where we need money. You're a communicator, and you'll be able to communicate with the leaders here, the mayors here, everybody. And I think everybody has a good relationship with you already.
There's a lot of synergy going on in the county. Yeah. You've got the project again with Arano and the $5 billion investment. I think that corridor is going to be filled up with vendors to support that project. Yep. If you go over to Clinton.
Let's talk about Aspire the last 2 minutes.
Joe Hollinsworth's got
Aspire. What a great job Joe's done with that project. Mm-hmm. I went over there and looked a little bit around and stuff. I mean, people are going to come from everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Resale. I talk about school tax revenue. Right. I mean, sales tax revenue. I mean, I said the last 30 years, probably the most impactful thing that happened in Clinton was building the apartments on that hill. In other words, it gave people a chance to live here and work here. And, I mean, those, when they got built in the 90s, I guess, they came down. And just that made a major impact.
That was Molly and I's first home.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, right? I mean, that's exactly right. And it helped a lot of people.
But Aspire Park's a beautiful place. People are excited about it.
A lot of jobs, 90 jobs or more. What's
going to happen out there. And again, it's going to impact tourism when it comes to the river exposure. I think it's going to benefit everybody across the county.
And that's stuff where the state can help. The state can get involved, and you can dialogue with them and get done what needs to be done.
Tourism, recreation, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, we got it all right here in Anderson County. Mm-hmm. You got to go back on the campaign trail. You got
I was out last
2 months.
I was out late last night putting signs out already.
Doing work. You worked hard.
I'm gonna try not to clutter up the county too much with campaign signs, but name recognition is important.
Well, Oak Ridge is up. Oak Ridge controls it to 30 days out, right? Clinton used to, and then it went away. I don't know what happened with that. We were always told that. So I think there's a lot of time. I appreciate you coming on. You have a great legacy. I mean, you and Molly and everybody and everything that's done. I think you know enough about our county and our city, and this is important, and you have the relationships that you can take information from here and sell it in Nashville. And you know, everything's sales.
It is. It's all about relationships. And in Anderson County, we need to make sure we take care of our neighbors at the grassroots level and all work together. We can do a whole lot of things in Anderson County if we stay together.
Jobs, security, those are the key things. I mean, what do you want to say to the voters? Anything?
Give me an opportunity. If you have any questions at all, reach out, ask, and give me a call. My number, that's my cell phone number on the website. It gets me straight to me. Drop me a text message, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Rick, and we're getting new leadership, new era. Everything's got to turn over. That's the way life and nature is, and we're lucky to have Rick stepping up to be our next Republican state representative.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.